Hello guys, this is Let's Tech Gaming here, and let's see. I came across this Reddit post. It's made by Papa Georgie. Oh, and I'm gonna put this link to his post or so in the the description section of the video. But what he did was he did a test of all the different various specialized tank rounds that we're gonna get inside the game. And he got some really interesting results here. Now, let's start with the different tank shells. So, I've already gone over this before. So we have 3 new tank shells coming into the game: the AP shell, the shrapnel shell, and the HE shell. The standard shell will still be in the game, but these specialized shells were supposed to be, i.e., specialized to deal with certain tasks, or so to handle certain targets more effective than others. However, this didn't seem to be the case. Instead of, I guess, making it so the shells were specialized towards a single type of target for the most part or so, they had some interesting results or so. So let's just go through what he's found. So for the AP shell over here, he found that, and bear in mind that these are all just tests for the 40mm light tank shell. So as the battle tank shell and the battle tank itself are not available in the current version of the dev blog. So, look into the AP shell. The AP shell can... Okay, so this is to critically disable a light tank. It takes 2 shots from the side or the front to disable it, and 1 shot from the rear to disable the light tank. This seems quite balanced. I mean, I feel like this is balanced, but what I didn't expect for it to be is effective against actual fortifications. Well, essentially the AP shell can 2-shot pillboxes and gun nests, essentially, which is kind of unexpected, really. I mean, I did not expect for it to be effective against structures as well. I thought it would be kind of ineffective against them or so, in a sense, because it's a specialized role for, you know, armored piercing, dealing with tanks. But let's move on. The shrapnel shell is actually quite balanced from what he said. Essentially, it works like a short-range version of the howitzer shell, in a sense or so. And it does plenty of damage to infantry, and it does light damage to structure, so it's relatively balanced. The HE shell, however, is more contentious than the AP shell. The HE shell can 2-shot a pillbox or gun nest, and 4-shot a bunker wall. As he said right over here, it's even more powerful than the light field artillery shell, and it is quite insane. Now, I mean, I thought it would be like maybe 1 step below the field artillery, but I didn't think it would be basically as effective as the field artillery, basically, if not possibly more so, because of the fact that in the short-range engagements, your ability to switch targets and fire is much faster than any field artillery crew could ever perform, unless they were, basically reading each other's minds, essentially. So this is quite interesting. Now, essentially, what is it? He speculates that this will make it so, with the HE shells or so, that really there might not be a reason to get field artillery, essentially. If you can, because the thing about field artillery, and the way it works in the game, is that it essentially is a slow-moving gun that takes forever to get to the front line, but when it does, it is the most powerful tool available. Now you have it. Well, you can just put HE shells in a light tank and do the same job, and you can get there faster. You are actually protected from counter battery fire, so most artillery will get one-shotted, disabled, or just one-shotted outright and destroyed by most, in most engagements essentially, so by mortars, by other artillery, howitzers, tank shells, etc. basically. So you have it where tanks can, by a degree, replace field artillery guns. Now granted, light tanks won't have the range of a field artillery piece, so as a field artillery can hit up to, what's it, I think it's 150 meters essentially, while the light tank is still going to have a maximum distance of 40 meters or so, so it'll still have the range benefit, but in terms of actual destructive power, so kind of just like a higher effort, higher risk, higher reward situation or so, the light tank is just an overall more practical piece as it can destroy fortifications much faster. If anything, you just use the field artillery. I'm going to throw this phone over there so they stop texting me. Anywho, so it's gonna be an odd situation. I don't know, as I can see there being a bigger reason to just rush towards light tanks than to rush towards actual field artillery, just because it would be just technically as effective, if not more so, depending on the situation. Now, bear this in mind, this is the dev blog, so they still have, I'm going to be putting this video out on I'm going to probably try and put it out on the 7th if possible, but they can still change this around, so it is still possible to change this around. I really feel that what they should do is they should make it so the AP shells keep their effectiveness against vehicles, just make it so they're not really at that effective against pillboxes. He says that they should be reduced by 100%. I would say so as well. The point where actually they should take like 4 or 5 or 6 shots, so maybe the same amount as a standard round to kill a pillbox or so, making it kind of redundant, especially if they cost more. The shrapnel shells seem fine so on what he said here, so I haven't gotten the chance to actually test them out myself, but from what he said over here, so they seem fine. The HE shell, however, this doesn't even bear in mind what it could do to actual tanks as well. So if it's basically field artillery essentially, I mean, bear in mind it's not going to be as effective as the AP shell, but it will at least be more effective than the standard shell essentially. So I feel like they should make it so like the HE shell has a, ignore that, if the HE shell has a reduced range where it cannot fire at 40 meters essentially, well, it can only fire at like maybe 25 or 30 meters or so. So people with standard or AP shells have a range advantage on them, and on top of that, while they can take out fortifications, they have to get closer up. I mean, HE shells in real life, so they have lower muzzle velocity, so they can only go so far due to the fact that they are really heavy, so they'll brim to the bone with explosive material essentially. So that should be a thing that they should add. I think that would be fine if they just make it so it's like it has such a less range or so than the actual field artillery shell essentially. If they just like reduce the range, I feel like that would be fine. Also, bear in mind that I don't know the actual stats for, well, not the actual stats, but the actual manufacturing costs required to make AP shrapnel and HE shells. So I don't know if balanced wise or so in terms of just resources, it might be more effective to just use standard shells or so for certain situations. So like for AP shells or so, I don't know if, because I think it takes like at least 3 or 4 standard shots to kill a pillbox, so I don't know if essentially the AP shell costs twice as much as a standard shell. I don't know if the HE shell costs as much as a artillery shell. I don't know the stats or so they could be balanced that way. I just do not know. But I would also like to emphasize the fact that the battle tank has a 75mm cannon. So it is theoretically it's going to be twice as powerful as the 40mm light tank shell. So you can imagine a AP 75mm shell straight up one-shotting or two-shotting a light tank from all directions, maybe one-shotting it from the rear. You would have it where the shrapnel shell would just probably be larger and would probably have a bigger blast radius, but you'd have the HE shell. If it theoretically does twice as much damage, it will be two-shotting only the most fortified structures. Everything else, pillboxes, gun nests, AT turrets, maybe even garrison houses, they might all get one-shotted by the bloody thing. So we'll have to see what happens to it. It's very, very interesting to see what happens with this or so, and what they actually put into the actual patch when it goes live on the 12th. If we can even finish the war by then. But anyway, tell me what your thoughts are. I'm going to put a link to the actual post on the actual description for the video. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think about this. As always, take care, and I will catch you guys next time.